Welcome back, lords and ladies. It's been a little minute, but we are back with some of that juicy lore and theory you all love so much. In this episode, we are going to be taking a look at the Godskins. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, especially if this isn't your first time finding yourself here with us. Go ahead and show your support. It's much appreciated, and the more feedback I get, the more I know what it is you all want to see more of and know more about. But before we get into this, I want to give a shout out to our partner, W Energy. Go to w.gg where you can purchase any of their jitterless energy blends or choose from a variety of merch. Use code JIGSAW on checkout to get 10% off your order. Now, these bosses that you can encounter multiple times throughout your playthrough seem to have a dark history, but nothing much said other than they serve the Gloam Eyed Queen and wear clothes of sewn together skin from gods. But is it from gods or just a single god? Now, I know a lot of people will probably say this is all a stretch and I'm reaching. Well, yes and no. I'm definitely trying to step a little further out, as there has already been so much lore dove into by much larger creators with much more free time to pump out faster videos. So if I'm going to have any reason for people to tune in and watch these, I need to step a bit further and bring something that hasn't been copy-pasted from other creators like so many seem to do. I need to bring something of myself. So, first thing I want to point out is Super Slinky Man, the Godskin Apostle. I get that it says they assimilated abilities beyond humans similar to the Crucible, but the super slinkiness isn't something seen in any of the Crucible Knights or incantations, as those are only aspects of the Crucible related directly to the Erdtree. In those, we see the Tail Whip, the Fire Breath, and the Shoulder Horn attack. So where does the super slinkiness come from? Well, we do see creatures with a similar ability, and I'm talking about the Serpent men of Mount Gelmir, said to have been created when the great serpent devoured a god, that god being Rykard. Now, something else to take note of is Raya, a lady who appears human many times, but is later revealed to be a serpent lady born of a blasphemous ritual, daughter of Rykard. Now, was she his only offspring? Could the Godskin Apostles be creations of Rykard? But why would Rykard have part in their creation? Well, we look back at an old theory of Ranni being the Gloam Eyed Queen, leader of the Godskins. Ranni trusted Rykard, even giving him traces of the Rune of Death as seen in the description of the Blasphemous Claw, which reads, "On the night of the dire plot, Ranni rewarded Praetor Rykard with these traces. Should the coming trespass one day transpire, they would serve as a last resort foil, allowing Rykard to challenge Malekith the Black Blade, the Black Beast of destined death." Now that's some pretty damn big trust. Both Ranni and Rykard had a distaste for the Greater Will and wanted their freedom from it, so it could make sense for the brother and sister to work together to see it overthrown. Now, as for the Godskin, it's mentioned that Rykard was immortal and would only come back stronger from death. Is it possible that as a way to strengthen himself to ascend to godhood, he sacrificed himself continuously, growing in strength until he was able to take control over the ancient serpent once it consumed him? The skin of his sacrifices used for the robes of the apostles. And we also notice in this image that Rykard hasn't fed himself to this serpent whole. This is just his head. His body has been dismembered. So he could have done this several times over, until he was strong enough to take control of the serpent. We don't know. But he definitely looks as if he's been sacrificed and not just thrown himself to be eaten full-bodied by this serpent. And if it was the case of Rykard sacrificing himself over and over for strength, well, sacrifice is right up the alley of the Godskins and their worshippers surrounding them, so that kind of ties them in together as well. But another possible theory could be that the Godskin is the shedding of the serpent in Rykard once they had merged, making it something easily attainable for their garments. We also note that Rykard is the Lord of Blasphemy, and the Black Flame itself is in essence a blasphemous weapon capable of the destruction of gods. Now let me take a second, because I know I say that a lot, to note this or that. Now when I do that, it's not meant to be main arguing points, but just little things to keep in mind, put to the side as we dig deeper, but remembered in case we find any significance later on. Now moving forward, we also see the Godskin Noble sporting a very serpent-like tail, lending more evidence towards being creatures of the Great Serpent. You may compare this to the Crucible Knight's tail attack, but that's all it is for them, an incantation. The tail only evident during the attack, while on the Godskin Noble it is part of his physique. So here we have Super Slinky and Serpent Tail, traits from both bosses tying to the Serpent men, and therefore to Rykard. Now, this next piece of information for me is probably the biggest supporting evidence after looking at what we've mentioned already. The Temple of Igle at Volcano Manor. Here we fight a Godskin Noble. Why is he there? And after you defeat this Godskin Noble, on the altar, we find the Serpent's amnion, described as amnion from the mother's womb, which cradled the poor, unwanted offspring of a repellent birthing ritual. It will never dry out, remaining damp indefinitely. So here we have the Godskin Noble guarding the Serpent's amnion that Raya was created from, as we see when we give it to her as part of her quest line. Why was this amnion kept, and why would the Godskin be guarding it unless it was created from it as well, and that's why it was kept guarded to create more, hence the many serpent men throughout Mount Gelmir. And one last tiny detail I want to mention is the design on the bracers of the Godskins, bearing a strong resemblance to the tendrils sprouting from Rykard and the blasphemous blade. If Rykard created these beings with his trust and closeness regarding the rune of death with Ranni, it makes it all the more plausible that she in fact could have been the Gloam Eyed Queen. But that is a whole other can of worms I've made a video previously on and have thought about revisiting, as I've had some other thoughts about that from things we have learned since then. But that's where I'm going to leave it today. Let me know what you think about this theory and anything you would like to add to it or dispute about. Leave in the comments below. I always enjoy getting others' thoughts and seeing things from another angle. Until next time, it's been your boy Jigsaw. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Y'all stay beautiful.